Well, hello everybody, it's Lee back down in the lab, and no sooner had I released a video about this little thing here, this Telensa street lighting controller, than my favourite YouTuber and Facebook personality Mark Steele has released a video to try and counter some of the things that I might have said. And the video is entitled, "It's Only a Light Controller, That's If You're Pretty Dumb. Let's see how many dummies don't like this." Well, Mark clearly didn't like the video that I produced, and so I think I should respond to his video bit by bit just to see what kind of crazy stuff Mark's going to say today. So, without further ado, let's dip into Mark's crazy and see what mad stuff we can find.
Morning everybody. There's been a lot of people asking questions about what these 5G micro antenna look like. Well, this is one particular make called Telensa. There's lots of different makes. They're a single element and a large array. They're fitted to these LED streetlights. They're biologically toxic to all life. That's how I knew this was a kill grid, all right? Because obviously they fitted these technologies.
People want to know what the 5G things on top of lampposts look like. Well, they look like this here, because I have one. This is a Telensa Telenode. Oops, and I just dropped it. A Telensa Telenode, and this goes on top of the light post, and they are used to control the street lights, to turn them on and off, and this one actually can dim them as well. And I have another version here. This is one by a company called Harvard Engineering, who sadly, good British company that went bankrupt just a couple of years ago. These are also in some widespread use for streetlight controlling. But I've already made a few videos about these. These are a list of them down here now. And, well, they aren't 5G, because these both came out before 5G was a thing. And in fact, these Telensa, these Harvard devices, they were first coming out and being installed in Gateshead in 2011, which is before 4G came out. So they're not 5G. But let's see what else Mark has to say about these, shall we? I think it's going to be quite interesting.
What we should call them is trolls. Satan's helpers are trolls, all right? And obviously Satan doesn't want people to know what's really going on, because this is a kill grid. So this single element is in a large array. Let me just show you what it looks like. All right, you see the single elements talking to each other. So the blanket coverage, the area which is toxic, it's mainly sub-gigahertz, so it penetrates. Now you see this here, it says over 1 million telecells, a lot more than that, by the way. They're in the billions now, and they're all over the world. And it has a range up to 6 miles. So these are directly outside of your bedroom windows, and each one has a range of 6 miles. Okay? These are not what some people say.
So I love that Mark and other people call these things weapons, because what's really interesting is that these two weapons were purchased from eBay. This was, I think, $8.99. This was sort of $19.99. I bought them just to look inside and to do tests, and because they're interesting devices. But I wouldn't have thought you'd be buying weapons on eBay, would you? Because people would take them apart and they might use them against other people. I don't think they're weapons, are they, Mark? No. No, they're not.
For, you know, they need to be on every street light because they don't travel very far, because you can see that's just a lie, all right?
So, no, Mark, you see, you don't need these on every street light because they're short range. They're on every street light because they turn the street lights on and off. And if they aren't on the street light, they can't turn it on and off because they're not there. That's why they're on all the street lights. That would be pretty logical, really.
Here's the piece of hardware, right? Now that's a directional antenna.
Now, bizarrely enough, I have just made a video which I released at 7:30 PM GMT today, which is a test of both of these antennas, particularly this one here, the one from the Telensa device, and it demonstrates with a practical experiment that these two antennas are both omnidirectional. they are not in any way directional.
3,300 watt relay there.
So this is Mark's famous relay here. In fact, there are a few famous components on this board here. One is the relay, and the next is the capacitors, which we'll look at in just a minute. But the relay here, Mark seems to think that the relay somehow is going to release lots of energy from these capacitors here. That's what he said, isn't it? Let's look at what the relay is connected to on the reverse side of the board. So here, and I have an entire video just describing the electronics on here and how it all works. This is the main supply, and this is live and neutral, and this here, this red wire, is the red switched output wire that goes to the street light that this unit is controlling. Here and here, those are the two connections, just over here to the relay here. Those are the switch contacts on the relay. Look at where the power goes. It goes in here from the live mains in, through here, down there, into the relay, out of the relay, down here, and to the live out. So the relay doesn't connect to the antenna, or the capacitors, or anything else on the board whatsoever. It is literally just a light switch which turns on and off the power to that connection coming out there. And that's all it does. Look at my other video for a complete teardown and analysis of the circuitry on here. Notice Mark never does an actual analysis of the circuitry because I'm not sure he knows how to. But that's it. The relay is a switch and it turns on and off the power to the light.
Massive capacitance. You see the capacitance on an antenna board. Look at the capability of this. That's a super cap, by the way. That thing directly in front of you. So it has massive capacitance, right? If, let's say, I wanted to use it as an EMP.
This now is perhaps my favourite bit. Mark and the capacitors. So Mark believes that these capacitors here, I mean, look how big they are. They're like sort of barely wider than my pencil here. Those two there, maybe that one there, and this super capacitor here, somehow store loads and loads of energy. He says they're very, very high capacitance, lots of capacity on here on this antenna board. He thinks they somehow store up lots of energy and they're going to release it in some kind of electromagnetic pulse direct energy weapon through this antenna here. So I thought it would be interesting to look at these capacitors and work out exactly how much energy they store and what they can do with it. And that's really easy to do because the values are written on the side of the capacitors here. So this one here, these two here, in fact, they are 450 volts. I mean, they won't be charged to 450 volts. They are 450 volts because they have rectified mains voltage going into them, which can be about 330, 340 volts. But we'll say 450 for now. And they are 6.8 microfarads. The capacitor here is, let's get our C down there, it is 16 volts. Oh, there are two of these. Make sure we remember that. 16 volts, and it is, it looks like 470 microfarads. Okay. And then the supercapacitor here is, and you can see this on Mark's video when he sort of stops long enough for you to see this. It is 3.6 volts. 3.6 volts, that's really super. And it's 0.22 farads. There we are. Okay, so we got the value of our capacitors here. Let's now work out how much energy each of these capacitors can store. And remember, we measure energy in joules. And luckily, we haven't got to do the maths on paper. There are engineering websites which will help us and do that maths for us, which is great because I'll put all the links in the description below, and you can do the maths at home as well and find out how much nonsense Mark is talking. But what this is going to do is convert our volts and capacitance into energy storage for us. So the first one is 450 volts, and it is 6.8 microfarads. 6.8. So that is 600, I'll write this down, 688.5 millijoules. 688.5 millijoules times 2. We need to remember times 2. The next capacitor is 16 volts, and it was 450 microfarads. And so that is 57.6 millijoules. It's not very big, is it? And the super capacitor is 3.6 volts, and it is 0.22 farad. And that is 1.426 joules. This is good. We're up to a whole joule now. Okay, so let's add those together using a calculator here. 0.6885 times 2. There we are. So 1.377 joules. And we need to add 57.6 millijoules. 0.0576. It's getting big numbers now. Wow. And then our supercapacitor is 1.426 joules. So our grand total is 2.8606 joules. So that's how much energy those capacitors can store. 2.8606 joules. So let's work out what we can do with all that energy, because that's just a number. We need to put it into something a bit more practical and find out what we can do with that. And probably the best way, because Mark, he kind of infers in the video a bit later on that this could potentially vaporize you. Yes, and he's already called it an EMP weapon, an electromagnetic pulse weapon. So let's see actually how much energy we need to do something really easy, such as heating up water. The specific heat capacity of water. This website here, this is BBC Bite Size. It's basically a site for kids doing the GCSEs. The specific heat capacity of water is 4,200 joules per kilogram per degree Celsius. That means it takes 4,200 joules to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree centigrade. So let's work out how many of these devices you would need to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree centigrade, shall we? So let's get rid of that. So 4,200 joules we need, 4,200, and we have got a total of 2.8606 joules. You would need 1,468 of these here, with those components fully charged, and for all 100% of that energy to go into the water to heat the water up by 1 degree centigrade. Okay, it's not looking very good so far, is it?
Now that would be quite interesting, because if I got enough people full of tungsten nanoparticles, and I've got hundreds of thousands of these within a short area of each other, as we do, because I fitted to all of the toxic LED street furniture that's biologically toxic. This is a kill grid. It's what it is. It's only masquerading as a telecommunications system. These are directional antennas. No, these are directional antennas, not omnidirectional antennas, as the Satan's helpers will try and convince you, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to convince you, convict you into believing the fake narrative. The reason it's got a 3,300 watt relay switch on is because they're going to bang a load of power through that and basically shoot things with it. or uses an EMP. Now, can you imagine having a couple of 100,000 of these 3,300 watt capability pumping out what's called an EMP? And if you've got that tungsten nanoparticle in you, well, unfortunately, your life expectancy is going to go to zero. In fact, what could be really interesting, there might be nothing left of you when they pull an EMP attack.
To be fair, Mark then says, well, what happens if you've got lots and lots and lots of these lampposts? Now, we do know that Mark has been talking about lampposts in Gateshead for quite some time, and I've had a look at Gateshead's website, and you can see all the lampposts on their website. And there's quite a lot. And Mark says there's about 33,000, I think it's 32,000 something, but let's say 33,000 lampposts in Gateshead. Now, let's say that all these lampposts have these devices in here, and they're all fully charged, and all that energy is directed at a target. Let's say me, for example. Let's work out what would happen to me if all that energy was released from all of those lampposts. We've got to ask a question though, how is the energy going to get from these capacitors over to me? And the answer is, of course, it's going to transmit it with a radio signal. And the frequency this works on, as Mark would say, is 868 megahertz. And one of my previous videos actually demonstrates this device transmitting at about that very frequency. So all that energy has to be converted into a radio signal to be transmitted, and it gets transmitted through here. But that process is not very efficient. Let's give Mark the benefit of the doubt, and let's say that that is going to be 80% efficient. Okay, so, and it isn't, it's going to be worse than that. 80% of the energy in those capacitors gets transmitted through this antenna here. So that means we've got to do a little bit of maths. Let's do that very easily, shall we? 2.8606, and we want 80%. So let's find out what 1% of that is. Divided back by 100. 1% is not much at all. 80% is very up. Let's round it up to 2.3 joules. So we've got 2.3 joules of energy stored up that is going to be released as a radio signal from this antenna here. And we got 33,000 of these lampposts. Now, these lampposts, the problem is they're spread all over Gateshead. And I'll show you a map. The map of that is here. The street lights in Gateshead are all spread around the area, as you'd expect, because they're lighting the streets. So if you have a street light which is a kilometre away from you, the amount of energy you'll receive when this transmits is going to be very, very tiny. In fact, so small it'd be difficult for you to measure it. So we're going to make a theoretical street light scenario in Gateshead. And what we're going to do is, let's say we have all 33,000 streetlights in Gateshead. Okay, 33,000 streetlights in Gateshead, and they are all in a circle around me. So I'm in the middle of the circle here, and all the streetlights are all around me like that. All 33,000 of them. Now there have to be some distance away from me. So let's say they're going to be, I don't know, 50 meters away. I think that's probably fair. So 33,000 streetlights, each with one of these transmitters on, okay? And they are in a 50-meter radius all around me. 50 meters isn't very much, really, when you consider that most of the streetlights are going to be a lot further away than that. So let's work out how much energy I'll be receiving in my body here if all of those streetlights discharge their capacitors simultaneously. Now, in order to do this, we need to convert our units of energy from joules to watts, and then we can work out how many watts I'm going to be receiving as energy on the surface of my body here. because watts per centimetre squared is how you'd calculate that. Now, we have got 2.3 joules per lamppost being transmitted, so we need to work out what that's going to be with 33,000 lampposts. 2.3 times 33,000. Okay. 75,900 joules. 75,900 joules. Now, all that energy is going to take some time to be released. We need a time, let's say 10 seconds. Okay, completely arbitrary time, 10 seconds. So 75,900 joules over 10 seconds, the power released is going to be 7,590 watts. Let me write that down. 7,590 watts. That sounds like a lot, doesn't it? 7.5, almost 7.6 thousand watts. That's fine. Okay. So that's going to be transmitted from all these antennas. So combined, that's their total combined power. That's not quite how the power is worked out, but just for the sake of what we're doing now, that's roughly, it'll be fine for this kind of maths. So now we need to work out, because I'm 50 meters away from the antennas that are transmitting all this power, what the power density is going to be towards me. It's 7,590 watts. What is the antenna gain? Well, we know, because I tested it, that the antenna gain of this antenna is lower than the gain of this antenna. This antenna is a quarter wave vertical, which is about 2.2, 2.5 dBi gain. This antenna was at least 3 or 4 dB lower than that. So actually this antenna probably has almost negative gain, because it is such it's a very small, compact, size efficient antenna. When antennas are built to be size efficient, they're normally very inefficient as far as transmitting and receiving signals go. But again, we'll give Mark the benefit of the doubt, and we won't put negative dB in here. We'll just put 0 dB in, because it isn't really directional, and it's a bit of a crap antenna. So 0 dB. There we are. How far away are we? We're going to be 50 meters away, because don't forget, we've got 33,000 streetlights, and that's a lot of streetlights to fit in. So 50 is in centimeters. There are 100 centimeters per meter, so 2 zeros. There we are, 5,000 centimeters. Let's work out what the power density in milliwatts per square centimeter is going to be on my skin. So the power density received with 33,000 streetlights, all dispensing the entire energy charge of the supercapacitor and all 3 capacitors here, is going to be 0.02417,197 milliwatts per square centimetre. Now, I don't know why Mark thinks you need a 3.3 kilowatt relay to discharge these capacitors here. I mean, I could do it with my fingers and I wouldn't really notice it, but whatever, it's fine. So I'm receiving, for a period of 10 seconds, 0.02417,197 milliwatts, not even up to a watt yet. So let's work out what that is in watts per centimetre squared, or per metre squared is what you normally express that in. And Google's great at converting these units for us. I mean, we can do it just in our heads, couldn't we? But if I do it here, then it's it means you can all see it, and you can all do it at home as well. There we are. That's better. So we have got 0.2417197 watt per metre squared. Let's think about the water. So we've barely got enough power here with all these streetlights to heat a bit of water up. What's it going to do to me? What's it going to do to me? Like the pun there. I'm receiving 0.2417197 watts per metre squared. Can we work out what else we experience every day that might be equivalent to that. I wonder how much energy we receive from the sun. Now, this energy that we're talking about here, it is surface energy. So it's the energy that manifests itself on the surface, because it's a two-dimensional space, and the energy is being directed to me. So we work out what the energy is in that two-dimensional space here. And we can do that for the sun as well. Let's find out how much energy we receive from the sun. Sun energy in watts per meter squared. The sun's energy, here we are. At the Earth's surface, the energy density is approximately 1000 watts per meter squared. For a surface perpendicular to the sun's rays at sea level on a clear day. So that means when you're outside on a nice bright blue skied sunny day with the sun blazing down on you, you are going to be receiving 1000 watts per square meter. 33,000 Gateshead lampposts, all discharging their supercapacitors, are going to deliver 0.2417197 watts per meter squared. So roughly 1/4000th of the energy that you receive from the sun. Right. That's not very much, is it? And if we work that out back down to joules, then we'll find out that we haven't even got enough energy to heat a teaspoonful of water. So Mark thinks that somehow all these lampposts in Gateshead or wherever they are going to work in unison and vaporise you with all of their energy from these supercapacitors. But I think we can see that actually that is, it's not even wrong. It's so utterly stupid to think such a thing that I have no words for it. Maybe you can comment below on some suitable words to describe this, because I am lost for words.
So this plan, very well orchestrated, organised. Unfortunately, for the criminals who are going along with it and Satan's little helpers, I wouldn't like to be you.
Well, that's it for this video. We've looked at Mark's interesting claims in his video, which again are completely unevidenced and unsubstantiated and not supported by science or anybody else. And we've looked at the capacity of the capacitors here. Even the supercapacitor, what is like 1.4 joules. You need 1,000 of those to 4,000 of those. You need 4,000 of those to heat 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree. I'm not sure how they're going to vaporize you. But there you have it. That's my response to what Mark's claims. All the links again will be in the description. If you like this, if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, please subscribe to my channel, and then you'll be notified when new things happen. And more importantly, I'll know that people are listening and I'm making things that you actually want to hear. That's it for me for now. So I'll say goodnight to you from Santa's little helper.